Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another hot episode of a very special podcast. This is the podcast in which we talk about all your favorite TV series from yesteryear and then discuss them over a discontinued glass of eggnog from Denny's. And I'm your boy, Patrick M. Dunn, and I'm joined here, as always, by my toy maker herself, Kat Halstead, the author. Welcome back, girl.
Eggnog?
Yeah. From Denny's, on top of it all, because, you know, the movie that we watched tonight, they tried to order eggnog from Denny's, and they don't have it anymore. It's like, it's out. It's done.
Not in season.
Well, I think after tonight it'll be discontinued, because I don't think people are getting eggnog in January.
The way you said it, I was just thinking like this moldy glass.
A moldy glass of eggnog? Well, I mean, if they didn't wash the dishes properly, right? Because it's got milk in there and stuff, and nog. What is eggnog? Like, you know what? I want to throw this out there. I have no idea what it is. I've never had it.
I have had it. I'm not a fan of eggnog. It is a milk punch that has egg in it. So the Alton Brown recipe calls for 4 egg yolks, 1/3 cup of sugar plus 1 tablespoon, 1 pint whole milk, 1 cup heavy cream, 3 ounces of bourbon, 1 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and 4 egg whites.
And that's the Sterling K. Brown version of it?
That's the Alton Brown.
Oh, what's that? Is that a person? Is that a place?
You don't know who Alton Brown is?
I don't have the slightest inkling of who Alton Brown is. Should I know him?
Did you ever watch Good Eats on the Food Network?
No. Why would I ever watch Good Eats? First of all...
You're making a fool out of yourself right now. Everybody watches Alton Brown.
All right, I'll watch Good Eats with Alton Brown later, and maybe he'll inspire me to make his version of eggnog. But I don't think they're having this version of eggnog at Denny's, because you said bourbon?
Yeah, like, you can get it without the alcohol, but...
Okay, well, I mean, it sounds disgusting. I hate milk. Like, you just said milk, and I'm like, no, I'm out. Like, milk punch is how you described it. All right, who cares about eggnog? What movie are we dipping into today for the final installment, probably, of the Holly Jolly Jamboree, unless we throw a bonus at you? We don't know yet. We'll figure it out.
Today, we are doing the classic Tim Allen Christmas movie, The Santa Claus.
Yes, this movie came out in November 11th, 1994. Where were you? What were you doing that day? Do you want to hear the top 5 films that were released the weekend of November 11th, 1994? I'm looking at this list. This is not a good week for movies. I'm sorry. Coming in at number 5 in its second weekend, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Do you know this? Do you know this version?
Yes, and it's bad.
Yeah, this was directed by Kenneth Branagh. It starred Robert De Niro as The Creation. Yes, they called him The Creation. Kenneth Branagh was Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Helena Bonham Carter was Frankenstein's like girlfriend or wife or whatever, and also like his adoptive sister. But they had a thing going. I don't know. Although it wasn't as popular as the Universal horror classics and other incarnations, it has been considered the most loyal adaptation to the original novel. So it was more in line with the book than previous versions of it. I remember like Robert De Niro was kind of cool as The Creation, but it was more of a drama movie, I think, than a horror movie.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
It just isn't fun to watch.
Yeah, it's very moody. I think.
Well, here's the thing: if you're gonna do monster movies, you gotta make them fun, a little scary, but they have to be popcorn movies. Fun, but emotional too. Like you get attached to them, so like. When you get to the point where Frankenstein and the Wolfman are fighting and as the dam breaks, you start crying because you care about both damn characters.
Yeah. See, I think they were changing it up, though. They wanted to do an actual straight adaptation of the book, and it didn't work. All right. Coming in at number 4 this week, in its 5th week in cinema, the classic neo-noir crime caper, which is known to have revived the career of John Travolta, and note, it should have stayed dead. I can only be talking about one movie. What movie is that?
Pulp Fiction.
Yes. I think this was like the runaway hit of the year, right? It just kind of came out and everyone copied it.
At the MTV Movie Awards, you get like the parody with the guys from Welcome Back, Kotter. Washington and Epstein and Horshack doing like a Pulp Fiction scene.
Yeah, and everyone kept saying, let's get medieval on your ass to each other.
Like Bob Newhart in George and Leo.
Like 4 years later.
Oh yeah, I guess it was a couple years later.
I just remember, like, Mad TV would always throw in jokes at saying, let's get medieval on your ass and stuff, and, I don't know, it overstayed its welcome. It overstayed its welcome. No one says it anymore.
I watched Pulp Fiction once. That was enough.
I've seen it a few times. I've seen it in its entirety maybe once, and then bits of it here and there over the years.
I kind of have a threshold for blood and violence, and Tarantino movies definitely pass that threshold.
Coming in at number 3 this week, in its third week in the box office, the sci-fi film Stargate, which starred Kurt Russell and James Spader, and, I don't know, they, like, find a wormhole and go to faraway points in the universe, and I don't know, it ended up becoming a long-running TV series, or several long-running TV series, a series of books, I think, too. And I remember reading, like, a year or two ago, they were talking about bringing it back, but I haven't heard anything.
You know how, like, these sci-fi guys get? Like, they can't let anything just die. They have to milk it. Look at Star Trek, Star Wars. It's just, like, produce as much as they can.
I mean, it is a rich world. I used to actually watch the TV show for maybe, like, 5 years, and MacGyver was in it, Richard Dean Anderson for a little while, and then I think Beau Bridges, I think, is in it in like the later years.
Yeah.
I think that's when I dipped out. I was like, yeah, I'm not a Beau Bridger, not for me. But I do think Richard Dean Anderson comes back in like the final season, but I was way beyond. All right, number 2 this week, debuting the number 2 spot is the movie we're talking about today, The Santa Claus. It opened up hot, but barely held a candle to the top movie this week. Any guesses? It's a I wouldn't call it a horror movie, but it's kind of like maybe like horror drama, kind of maybe in the line of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but not straight up horror movie.
Interview with a Vampire?
Yes, you got it. You got it right. Based on the novel by Anne Rice, starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. Horribly miscasted. I didn't know this about the movie. Did you know that Oprah Winfrey famously walked out on an advanced screening of the movie only 10 minutes in because she said the dark themes bothered her, and she doesn't like when there are forces of light and darkness in the world, and she doesn't want to be a contributor to the force of darkness.
Wow, okay, so here's the deal. I have watched Interview with a Vampire once, a few years ago. It was a bit uncomfortable to watch, especially like the Kristen Dunst stuff. Because there's a point where, like, her character is no longer a little girl, but she still looks like a little girl, and...
Yeah, she, like, falls in love with Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt's like, you're my daughter, because that's, like, how they travel across the world.
And, like, the whole stuff with Tom Cruise, and also you forgot the real star of the movie, Christian Slater.
Is the interview guy, like, the interviewer. Yeah, hence the title of the film, Interview with a Vampire.
I see why it was popular.
You know what? I think it was attention grabbing at the time. I don't think it was that good of a movie, though. I
also don't, like, dig the whole vampire thing, and we are just still getting over, like, the whole Twilight obsession.
I feel like the Twilight's been dead for, like, 8 years now.
Well, here's the thing. It started getting a revival a few months ago. So the freaking woman dropped a book from Edward's point of view, so...
Oh, she did?
I read all of the first 4 books in the whole Twilight thing, and they were bad. They were hard to read. They took me forever to read, and I can be a pretty fast reader. I'm not the fastest, but I'm pretty fast, and it took me forever to get through those books. I was just like, oh my god, this character is so annoying. Like, the characters annoyed me so much, I had to, like, put it down.
Well, I laid the information in front of you, and I'm going to ask the age-old question. On a scale out of 1 out of 5, Oprah famously walking out of a movie theater.
Similar to the weekend for White Christmas, the month for White Christmas, where it's just not it.
I'm going to give this weekend a 1. This is just not a good weekend for movies. Maybe they were saving their heavy hitters for, like, Thanksgiving-ish weekend. Summer movies are over. Maybe we got that little back-to-school fun run of movies in, like, late September or something.
When you talking about back-to-school movies, that's not a thing.
I feel like after the summer, you kind of they'll throw out, like, a couple little, like, sleeper comedies and stuff. Like, I remember just, you know, like, it's the second or third week into high school, and you're like, let's go to the movies, and, you know, I don't know, you go see, like, an Adam Sandler movie they throw out or something.
I don't know.
Keep you going.
I think you're wrong.
Give you something to look forward to. All right. Who cares? Let's move on. We're going to go into this wild, insanely fantasy world of the Santa Claus. This is a world where Santa exists.
Santa is a magical being, but if he, say, falls off a roof...
Become replaced every couple of years? I don't really know.
Can we back it up? Let's back it up a little bit.
All right, let's back it up.
Because you're jumping and you're not making sense and you're overthinking. Okay, so we start off at a corporate Christmas party. You know, it's really fancy. There's drinks a-flowing. We're just gonna, like, pop some champagne and party down in the office kind of thing. Scott Calvin, played by Tim Allen, is, like, the top salesman. He, like, took some ridiculous doll that pees itself or something and made it, like, the hottest toy of the Christmas season.
Does it talk? I felt like it talked for some reason.
I honestly don't remember. It was stupid. It was, like, it's like the toy the parents were, like, rioting over kind of thing. So, you know, he gets, like, everybody's congratulating him. And then he realizes, oh, shit, he has to get home because his son's going to be there. Because his ex-wife is dropping him off. And he, like, calls and he goes to, like, leave, like, he's on his car phone. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. The traffic is just awful on the way home from work. He's, like, starts yelling, get out of the way, buddy! There's nobody on the road.
There was no one on the road, but it looked like it had recently snowed, and it didn't look like the roads were treated, and he's, like, flying down the street trying to get home, and it just stressed me out. I'm like, he's gonna just, like, hit a tree going around this corner.
Yeah. I don't like to drive in snow, and I drive a Jeep. And I feel like I'm okay in most snow, but I still don't want to drive it because people are crazy. And they drive like Tim Allen does in this movie.
Probably supposed to be home at like 5 or something for dinner. It's probably 4:45. I don't know how far away he lives. It seemed like it was a long ride, but who knows?
I mean, I don't know how long the trip took. I don't know how long he stayed at work because it is December 24th, so it's super dark out really early in the Midwest. Like, it could be like 4 o'clock and it's pitch black.
I'm going to throw this out there. So, I'm really surprised that this corporate toy company, like, I'm surprised they were even open on Christmas Eve, to be honest with you. Like, they did their job for the year. Like, what else do they have to do?
I think, you know, they're looking at the sales numbers until, like, earlier that day.
The final numbers or whatever.
You know, and then they're, like, going to kick back. They're probably, like, finishing up any little details because they don't seem to go back until after the new year. Scott gets home. He has left a answering machine message for his ex-wife, trying to cover his ass.
She's probably already on the way to the house.
Oh, she's probably, like, already at the house.
I think they're waiting out front, aren't they, when they get there?
Hold on. I got a thing. I feel like this woman and her new husband kind of don't take Scott's schedule into consideration for this stuff. So if he says, hey, I'm off work at 5, so I should be home by like 5:45 or whatever, they show up at that house at 5 o'clock.
They just assume he's magically going to be home at 5 o'clock, right on time.
There seems to be this like need to make him the villain. Let's be real. Him working pays for all of Charlie's stuff. He probably still he's at the very least still doing child support, maybe still some like alimony or something.
Here's what I got from their whole like situation. So I'm assuming that Scott is like a workaholic. Like he's always at work. He's always selling the latest gizmo gadget toy or whatever. Like, and he's really good at it. He can probably convince, a Toys R Us or a smaller company to buy like so many units of this product. He's probably really good at it. He probably travels around a lot. And he probably wasn't home a lot when he was originally married to Laura. Is that her name? Laura?
Yeah, I think it's Laura.
I feel like she just maybe struggled to raise Charlie because Charlie's kind of a dick. Like he just reminded me of Randy from Home Improvement.
Whatever like kind of crap Neil has said or his mom has said, Charlie like kind of picks up on that and goes with that, even though maybe Scott is just, he's trying. He doesn't know how to do this on his own. He wasn't expecting to do this on his own.
And I feel like he's a victim of circumstance. I feel like when he was a young child himself, his dad was probably always working, and that's just how he thought he had to be. He's like, I got to bring home the bacon kind of thing, and that's what he did. Because, he had a nice house and stuff. Like, it wasn't too shabby. I'm guessing that Laura, she struggled. Maybe she signed up to see a psychiatrist. And I have a feeling that, like, her new husband, who is the psychiatrist, I think it was like a doctor-patient relationship. Like, that's my theory.
So here's my thought, is that Scott never anticipated the divorce, didn't want the divorce.
Contested it.
He probably tried to fight it, but there was only so much he could do, especially like back then. It's not like, so then he probably threw himself even more into work What does he have to come home to most nights?
I don't know, Carson or Leno, whatever was on it now at this time. Leno, I think.
Yeah, like there's nothing for Scott to come home to most nights.
And I think when he comes home, he probably brings like paperwork with him and goes through the numbers and stuff and works on sales pitches. He's kind of, I mean, obviously he's bitter about the whole situation. You know, he never really gets to see his son. I'm guessing he's probably supposed to be there on like Friday nights or something, but it doesn't seem like Charlie ever wants to go. But I feel like because it's Christmas Eve, like he insisted that he comes. Laura's like, all right, we'll talk him into it.
Laura and Neil want to go to Neil's parents, and she makes this whole big deal. And I get the feeling that she would not be that insistent about going to see his parents for the holidays, Scott's parents, and making them happy. So I feel like there's definitely like, she prioritizes Neil in a way she didn't prioritize Scott.
She has a husband that's always home. A bigger house. It looks like a bigger house to me anyway.
Because I totally think she moved out while Scott was at work one day.
As soon as he walked out the door in the morning, she called up like the U-Haul company. She rented that thing. They drove over. And
like she probably had it like planned like, okay, on this Monday, I'm going to just like get the movers in while Charlie's at school. And we're going to move into this house I rented. Or move in with my therapist, dude. Like I get the feeling that there really isn't very much time between Scott and Neil for sure.
Yeah, I feel like this is still a fresh wound. Like maybe like less than a year. I don't know, as soon as like the divorce became legal, she was like, her and Nail were like at the town hall like that weekend. Like I feel like they rushed it. They really didn't probably throw a wedding together. She probably didn't want to go through it again or whatever. And he was like, he was probably okay with it. Charlie has seemed to kind of soften up to Neil too. Like he now like knows big words because of him. He knows a lot about psychology apparently.
Neil just like talks about psychology all the time.
I have a question for you. This is a very important question. What did you think of Neil? Like Judd Reinhold as Neil?
I found Neil to be so insufferable.
Really? You know what?
Because there are times where he definitely oversteps.
Okay, yeah, I do see that.
In the step-parent role, tries to take over as the father.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that kind of sets him back a few steps. I had a problem with them. They, like, really pushed him to be the villain in this movie. For a lot of things, I kind of saw things from his perspective. I was like, you know what, that makes sense. Like, okay, like, I get it.
There is really no villain in this movie, except for maybe Bernard.
We'll get to him in a few minutes, but I have a whole thought on Bernard. I feel like there's an evil empire in Bernard's mind. All right, so Scott finally comes home from work. It's like now, like way after dinner time. Charlie probably hasn't eaten since like 10:30 that morning. He probably had like a big breakfast.
Oh, come on. These people probably gave him like carrot sticks at 2.
Yeah, but he hadn't had like a full-fledged meal. I just feel like because Laura wasn't going to have him for Christmas Eve, that she just wanted to cart him around to like all her side of things, like maybe like her parents or something, or maybe another relative. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, she's coming to pick him up the next day.
Was that planned, or like did Charlie insist on going home the next day?
No, it was planned. Like Scott would get Christmas Eve and Christmas morning.
I wonder what Neil's parents think of Laura and Charlie. I don't know. I like to like dip into that world a little bit.
They like Laura. They're a little like, does she really have to bring her son to Christmas?
Do you think they're those like old-fashioned parents that hate children? That, like the children have to stay upstairs outside of the room, like during the Christmas gala events?
100%.
Like, this is an adult-only Christmas, Neil. You need to...
Yes, that's Neil's parents.
It's like a black tie event. Or a really nice sweater event.
Because there were no ugly Christmas sweaters back then.
Neil's sweater game, though, is off the charts, though. I loved it. He just had those, like, 90 laser printed I don't know what they're called, but there was those nice knit sweaters that have, like, the line designs on them, or sometimes, like, the patterns.
Yeah.
I loved it. I want every sweater in this movie right now. And
Laura tells Charlie they will pick him up as early as possible. Because I feel like there's definitely like some alienation attempts early on between Charlie to keep Charlie and Scott from being close.
The thing about Scott is, as soon as he comes home, he just starts bitching about Neil, and he just keeps cracking jokes about him, calling him like a fake doctor or something, all this stuff. You know what? I think it pisses off Charlie, and I mean, it'll piss off Laura, but especially Charlie, because Charlie's kind of crafted this relationship with Neil, and it probably pisses him off, and he's just like, ugh, like, I gotta listen to this all night long. So that's why, like, when the mom's like, hey, I'll come, like, first thing in the morning, Charlie's like, I mean, like, first thing in the morning, like, before the rooster crows kind of thing. Like, I want you at the door, car running, like, when that sun pops up over the horizon. The mom's like, all right, it's a deal. But, like, Scott hears it. Like, he overhears the conversation. He's just like, ugh, now I gotta overcompensate on everything. And he's gonna dial everything up to a 20, keep this relationship going. Before Laura leaves, Laura and Scott have this conversation about Santa Claus, like, in the hallway with Charlie, like, an earshot. Like, he is literally, like, around the corner. You can hear this whole conversation. I guess Charlie's not popular at school, right? He's just kind of like an odd man out.
Quiet kid.
I guess one of the older kids, or just a kid in general, told Charlie that Santa doesn't exist, that he's fake, and he's a sham. Neil, like, agrees with it, too, I think.
Neil totally tells Charlie that Santa isn't real.
I'm guessing Charlie came home from work. Charlie came home from school, told his mom that, hey, like, Nikki at school told me that Santa isn't real, and then Neil took it upon himself, like, oh, son, our new son, we need to talk about this, and he just kind of laid into the mythology of Santa and all this, and it kind of, pissed off Scott, because he's like, wait.
The kind of thing where Laura calls Scott up and says, hey, this happened, we need to talk to Charlie together.
Or maybe not together, but we each offer advice separately, as a whole. Or, like, put him on the phone at least, like, hey, want to talk to your son for 10 minutes about Santa Claus? They got to work on a plan. Like, hey, should we keep the myth going or just say
at the same time, Laura is totally down for Charlie to stop believing. And he's like 7.
Yeah, I was going to say he's older than 5, but he's younger than 10. So yeah, 7 is probably a good point, I guess. So the mom takes off, and like Neil's waiting in the car the whole time. That's what I loved, because it seemed like they were in there for a long time, and it would probably piss Neil off. He probably got agitated.
Neil's not coming in that house. Neil is not welcome in that house.
What are they talking about in there?
The second Neil walks into that house, he is going to start analyzing Scott.
Laura takes off, and now Scott's like, all right, fun times for you and I, bro. You and I, Charlie. We're gonna have a great night. I don't know. Scott has some kind of magic stove that can just, like, whip up a turkey in record time.
No, it's not a magic stove. This is my thought, is he didn't take the turkey out to thaw, and then he ramped up the heat to, like, 500.
Threw the turkey in, and it caught fire. And the kitchen's, like, smoking. We get this, like, long 30-second scene of him with a fire extinguisher just extinguishing out the flames. And then, I don't know, my favorite sight gag was, then it showed the turkey, and he's like, well, dinner's done. And then it just catches back on fire, like, for no reason at all. Just, like, lights back up. And then it cuts over, and they're pulling into, like, an all-night Denny's parking lot. Like, well, there's, like, some sort of business meeting or something going on in, like, one side of the restaurant.
There's, like, a bunch of Japanese business guys in town. And the only place for these guys to eat is Denny's. And they're, like, totally down. Because it's like, yes, Americana. And then the other half are, like, the single dads. You can tell these guys are just, like, trying. And they failed. And they feel like crap. And the only place they could take their kids is Denny's.
Scott walks in and he sees, like, one of the dads. And he's like, did you burn the turkey too? And he just kind of nods in agreement. So he tries to order the seasonal eggnog drink. And she's like, we don't have it. And he's like, all right, how about a coffee or something? She's like, yeah, we got that. And then he's like, all right, how about the chicken pot pie sounds good. And she's like, oh, I just sold the last one.
Here's the thing. The Japanese business guys totally, like, ramped it up and got, like, all the seasonal stuff.
Dinner's over, and now Scott's, like, reading him the night before Christmas, this little bedtime story. He's reading the story, but Charlie was pretending to be asleep. His eyes were definitely closed.
Charlie, like, just wants this over because he's been so brainwashed against his father.
Tim settles in. I think he pours himself, like a glass of bourbon or something, and then goes to bed.
Yeah, because why not?
It's a few hours later now, and Charlie wakes up, and there's, like, tapping on the roof. There are little noises. You hear, like, a jolly man laughing. He runs in to tell his dad. He's like, hey, there's someone on the roof. I heard a clatter. I heard a clatter, Dad. He's like, that's just a story, son. That's just a story. He's like, no.
What, dude? No, shh. Like, I just want to sleep. But Charlie, like, makes him get up and go check what's going on outside. He
has enough time to, like, throw on his Timberland boots, but he doesn't have time to, like, throw on, like, sweatpants or something. So he's, like, in his, like, short boxer shorts. There's snow on the ground, so I'm going to assume it's cold, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be chilly. It was low 50s this morning when I woke up. I was fully dressed in, like, sweatpants, socks, a sweatshirt, and I was still freezing. And that was like 50-something degrees. I'm going to guess it's way cooler than that. I'm going to say it's freezing out there. And he's out there for a long time. I don't know. The set must have been like a Hollywood set. It's probably like 80 degrees. So he's like not shivering. He's not even trying to attempt to make himself warm or like rubbing his hands together. There's no cold breath coming out of his mouth.
That actually was really hot. They had trouble like keeping it cool enough for Tim when he was in the Santa suit later on.
They're kind of loud. Like, I don't know if there's like nearby homes, but he's out there yelling.
Like, I am picturing that this street has to be close to the McAllisters because nobody's home for Christmas.
Oh yeah, they all went away to their in-laws' house or to Paris. So he's out there yelling. It startles a man on the roof who it just happens to be Santa Claus and catches Santa by surprise, and he like slips on an ice patch. He like falls down, I don't know, I would say like a good like 20 feet maybe, lands on a very small snowbank. Like, it's not really like a padded down snowbank. Should I call 911? Should I check to see if this guy's all right? Should I check his pulse? Like, no, he's just like, oh, there's a dead body on the ground in front of my house.
Hold on. Like, because Charlie comes out, and he and Scott are kind of like arguing about what's happening, and Charlie's like, oh my god, Santa is real. You know? And then Charlie sees, like, the sleigh and the reindeer on the roof, and Scott is like, what is going on? There is a point where you see the hand of Santa in his little mitten wave before, like, the body disappears. And, like, the suit is left. So, like, Scott grabs the suit, and he, like, goes up the ladder.
A ladder, like, magically appears out of nowhere. Just the golden ladder.
So they, like, climb up onto the roof. He's like, surprise, we're getting the Disney Channel! Because this is back when the Disney Channel was still, like, a premium. Which, like, is so wild, considering how popular it is today. I don't even know when it stopped being a premium channel.
I think it was late 90s.
Yeah.
Like, 97, 98-ish, I think, is...
Yeah, I feel like we had, like, one last, like, preview weekend, and then it just, like, stayed.
Shout out to Disney for that, like, multi-level marketing right there. Like, hey, you know what, let's just throw in a commercial for the Disney Channel. But also, shout out to them for making that, like, a Santa present.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If he's got the Disney Channel and Laura and Neil don't, where's Charlie going to want to hang out?
What's hot? Mickey Mouse Club is still on at this point, right?
Like, the last season of Mickey Mouse Club, I think.
I don't know. Is that weird Alice in Wonderland show still on? Or is that... No, that was, like, 80s.
I honestly can't remember, like, this period of Disney Channel. Like, this is right before... Like, this is when Disney was still airing, like, older Disney movies throughout the day, like Apple Dumpling Gang, or
The Ugly Dachshund.
Uncle the Monkey, or whatever.
My Uncle the what? Is that a real one, or did you just make that up?
My Uncle the Monkey?
Yeah.
Like, I remember. The Monkey's Uncle, that's what I'm thinking of. The Monkey's Uncle.
Okay, I'm like, My Uncle the Monkey? I'm like, what?
I was having dyslexic moments, okay?
It's alright, I was just saying it sounds exciting. Alright, so, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, they probably played old... Like, because I remember, like, watching the Disney Channel when I was really young, and it would be those old, like, Walt Disney things where he's, like, standing in front of a poster board showing us what Disney World's gonna look like in 10 years. Like, I remember watching a lot of those.
Yeah, a lot of those. Like, one of my favorite old school Disney movies, The Ugly Dachshund.
Yes, shout out to that movie. And, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, is that a Disney movie?
Who?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
No, I don't believe that's actually a Disney movie.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
Bedknobs and Broomsticks is.
Okay, I feel like that was on, like, every 4 days on the Disney Channel. Like, you couldn't escape that. There was a period where I'm like, what is the lady from Murder, She Wrote doing flying around the city? Alright, so Scott now has the Disney Channel. It's now on the cable lineup. Does he have to pay for it? I don't know. We don't know the logistics. So there's some weird magic type stuff goes on, which somehow like lures Scott and Charlie onto the sleigh.
It is a child who sees Santa's sleigh on his roof with all the reindeers, except for Rudolph. Okay, if you were 7 years old and you saw Santa's sleigh on your roof and you had the ability to climb up to the roof and get on that sleigh, would you not have gotten on that sleigh?
I mean, I probably would, but I'd probably be scared too, not gonna lie. I'd be like, like, what's gonna happen? Scott's
like, this is ridiculous, and he, like, gets in to try to get Charlie out, and he's like, come on, Charlie, let's go. And the reindeer, like, take off.
Yeah, takes off, flies away.
Comet's a sassy, snarky little guy.
I guess it flies to the other side of town, or the other side of the neighborhood or something, and it goes to, like, one house. Scott gets out, but, like, the magic of, Santa just, like, sucks him down the chimney.
First, he puts the suit on, because Charlie's like, you gotta deliver the toys. And Scott's like, I'm not going down there, I don't have pants on. He's like, put on the suit. Fine, Charlie, I'm doing this to make you happy. He's like, I'm not gonna get down there, there's no way for me to get down there. He puts on the suit, he picks up the bag, and then it's like Mary freaking Poppins. He's flying in the air and then getting sucked down the chimney.
Actually, the special effects for this are not that bad. They're okay. the early ages of computer imagery, but it worked for the time. It worked for the time. And the first house he goes to, like he's making a lot of noise. He's making a lot of clatter, and like it sets off the alarm. There's like a Doberman in there that's like chasing around the house. The owner wakes up and he's like, "Who's in here?" kind of thing. And he's like trying to find his way out. Then it flies to the next house, and it's the little girl's house, right?
He's like, "Come on, Comet, the bag's empty." He shakes it up to show Comet, and then like all magically
fills up.
And then he's like, before he knows it, he's getting sucked into a non-chimney house where like the fireplace magically appears in the wall. And he accidentally wakes the little girl, and she's like, "You didn't drink the milk." He's like, "I'm lactose intolerant."
All right, I have a question about the little girl. Why is she sleeping on the couch? Like, she just wanted to wait up for Santa kind of thing?
Yeah.
The parents let her?
She snuck out of her bed after her parents were asleep and went to sleep on the couch to try to wake up to catch Santa.
I could picture her the next day. It's like Christmas morning, and she's like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, so I saw Santa last night." He was like kind of a jerk. He didn't drink the milk.
Did you know that Santa is lactose intolerant?
And they're like, "What? What does that mean?"
Yeah, because who knew what that meant in 1994, like really?
Especially like a 5-year-old girl. It was just weird. I was just kind of wondering the backstory of the little girl. It's like a yearly thing for her, I guess, because the next year she's in there.
Hello? One year she actually sees Santa, she's gonna try again the next year, dude. Why is this, like, such a hard concept for you? I don't get it.
She looked really comfortable, though, on the couch, not gonna lie.
Okay, maybe it's a nice comfy couch. Maybe it's not like the couch I'm on right now, which isn't very comfortable.
Do we go to the North Pole here? Is this that point?
Like, we get them kind of traveling all over. And then the sun finally starts to come up, and he's like, "Okay, we're done. Let's go home." And, you know, Scott's thinking he's gotta go back to his house. Comet's like, "No, bitch, we go to the North Pole." They get to the North Pole, and, like, it's just like this frozen tundra, and, like, this little candy cane pole comes up, and Charlie's like, "Oh, that must be the North Pole."
So we get to the North Pole, and we meet Bernard the Elf, played by David Krumholtz, and who's like a older teen, I think, at this point. I don't really know exactly how old he is in this.
He was born in 78, so he's 3 years older than us.
So he's probably like 15, 16 at this time. So he's like the lead elf.
He's just the head elf. He's probably the most trusted one. He's the tallest.
The rest of the elves are small children, but they're like hundreds of years old, I think. I was kind of confused why Bernard is older than the other ones. I guess when you get to a certain age, if you're an elf, you look like a teenager. Maybe you like age a lot slower.
You're overthinking it. You are overthinking stuff, Patrick.
I have a theory. I think that Bernard selected Scott to be Santa replacement.
Okay.
Scott works at, I'm guessing this is like the most profitable toy company in the world at this point in time. This new doll was a hot commodity this year. I don't know what they came out in the previous years, but he somehow got access to the data. Maybe he has like a corporate spy in the toy company. I don't know, but Scott is the hottest salesman. He's like, "I think we need a new Santa, and I think this is the perfect guy to be Santa. Also, while we're here, we can do a hostile takeover of this company, get it shut down, and get our toys back into homes, and not his toys, or their toys." So I think he this is a whole coup. He sent Santa to Scott's house, and maybe made the reindeer like be extra clattery on the rooftop, like saying, "Hey, when you get to this house, stomp a little harder than you usually do. Just keep on stomping."
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch the other movies. You think Bernard set this up to get Scott to be Santa?
Yeah, there's multi-levels to this. So I think the Santa of that time liked to coexist in the world with other toy companies. He kind of was like, "Oh, friendly competition kind of thing." Maybe the elves were upset because all these new toys, like people are building, now we got video games now. This is kind of like when like Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo was a thing. Kids are now into like stereos and stuff now, into different things. The elves weren't having as much output anymore. They don't got much to do anymore kind of thing. So they're like, "All right, you know what? We need to overthrow this toy company, but let's take its top guy. Let's take their top salesman. Let's make him the new Santa. He's got the toy mindset. He knows how to sell a toy."
I don't think they're in competition with the toy companies. Santa gets the glory no matter what, dude. I can't follow that line of thinking. I just can't. It doesn't make sense to me.
I like to believe that Bernard felt threatened by the toy company.
If Bernard was behind the whole thing, there had to have been a reason, like, that this Santa just wasn't it.
The previous Santa, is he like the original Santa, or is there multiple Santas over the years?
Yes. And I'm just going to say that I'm going to guess none of the Santas last more than 8 years. But Yeah, so they're in the North Pole now. Bernard's just very matter of fact. He's like, you're the new Santa. You put on the suit. You're the Santa. It's on the card. And Scott's like, what are you talking about? And it's in like on the card, but it's like in teeny tiny font that borders around that you can barely, like, you have to use a magnifying glass to read. If Santa dies and you put on the suit, you're the new Santa.
It's fine print.
You know, so now they're in the North Pole and there's all these elves around and like Scott's just not like getting it. Like he thinks he's having some sort of dream. He's like, this isn't real. Bernard's like, you got 11 months to get your affairs in order. You got to be back here by Thanksgiving. And Scott's like, what? And Bernard's like, I'm going to send you the list. And Scott's like, what list? And Bernard like stares at him like, dude, really?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Charlie has probably had like the best night ever. He got to hang out with his dad. He finds out that Santa is real and that his dad is now Santa Claus. Neil will never be cool after this.
No, Neil's like yesterday's news now. Neil is like done with. And like he has to go back to life now, knowing this information, and he can't contain it. Like Charlie goes into like Christmas overload now.
So like it's morning, Scott wakes up in his own bed, but he's still wearing the pajamas Judy gave him. Like Charlie's downstairs, he's already opened presents and stuff without Scott. Like, they're just chilling, and Scott's, like, exhausted. He's like, what happened last night, man? That was a weird dream. And, like, he's playing it off as a dream. Like, maybe he just, like, forgot what pajamas he had or something. And, Laura shows up, and immediately she's bitchy. Way to be festive, Scott, when he's in red pajamas. Like, girl, why are you so mean?
Can we talk about Laura's, like, Phoebe Cates from Drop Dead Fred, like, haircut for a minute? There was an age, I want to say it's what, 91 to like maybe, you know what, I think 94, this haircut was dead. Like no one had this haircut anymore except for Laura. She's like 2 years behind.
I mean, I feel like if people had a haircut like this, because I feel like somewhere around this time I definitely had a bob haircut like this. It was not like hers. It was different.
It's established, we know that Scott's 38 years old because I think they make reference to him being a 38-year-old man in the movie. Is Laura the same age, or is she like a little bit younger? I didn't really know.
Maybe she's a little bit younger.
Okay, I maybe 34, and she's always kind of had a thing for like older guys, I'm guessing, and started with Scott, but then she met Neil, who I'm assuming is a little bit older than Scott for some reason. I don't know why.
Right?
Maybe 5 years old. He's like in his mid-40s. That's I don't know how old Judd Reinhold is in real life, but he just seemed a lot older. I'm guessing now that Laura's paired up with an older man, she's kind of, people might view her as older, so she wants to appear more youthful, so she gets that crazy haircut that's, I don't know, like 2-3 years out of style now. And maybe Neil bought her like a cool sports car or something, and she's just kind of like showboating around in it. And
I feel like she definitely has the same sweater game as Neil.
Does she wear a sweater in the movie? I'm trying to remember.
We see her in sweaters, and they're very similar.
There's just a weird aura that just floats around Laura that just makes her the most forgettable human being in cinema ever.
Yeah, because 1994 is like the year of Clueless and The Rachel.
Early years of Friends. This is when everyone went to the hair salon and with a picture of Jennifer Aniston was like, give me this. For some reason, Laura had like an old issue of People that had like Phoebe Cates on like page 11, and she's like, give me this.
I feel like Laura got like the one, like she feels it's like an easy, manageable mom haircut.
Yeah. Oh, wait, new theory. This was like around that age. Remember like that era where just like moms hit a certain age and they like chopped off their hair?
Yeah, like you hit a certain age and your hair starts getting shorter and shorter.
I feel like she was trying to hold on to her youthfulness like a few more years, maybe get like another like 3-4 years out of this. And she's like, you know what, if I do the hot new hairstyle, if I do the Phoebe Cates or the Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction, you know what, I might be able to ride this out like 3 more years.
So Laura shows up and she's like giving him crap, and she's like, where'd you get the pajamas? He's like, I don't remember. Like, because he does, like, he's like, I can't say I got them in the, like, because he thinks it's a dream. He's like, I don't remember. And Charlie's like, oh, Judy gave them to you. And he's like, Judy, you mean the waitress from Denny's? And the mom's like, a waitress was giving you pajamas, Scott?
Like, you were taking my son out on your sexcapades? Like, what? Hands on her hips.
She, like, is making everything, like, 10 times worse than it actually is.
All right. The only, like, we get to that point of the movie now, though, where, like, Scott starts realizing that this wasn't just a shared vision or a shared dream that he had with Charlie.
His body starts to change. Charlie keeps insisting he's Santa Claus. First, he starts to put on weight. His beard starts growing like way faster.
Yeah, he's got that, like, Fred Flintstone, Homer Simpson, like, he shaves, but it comes back immediately.
So, like, he has to go to a work lunch meeting, which is, like, the weirdest meeting where they're, like, ordering lunch at the meeting.
And they're going over, like, the details for the next Christmas.
Yeah, which that makes sense to me. You know, companies do this stuff way in advance. And he's like, no. He's like, he has ordered this huge plethora of food, and they don't start the meeting until he actually, like, finishes. He told everybody he got stung by a bee. And they're like, really? After he orders all that food? They're, like, all, like, really bitchy about it.
So I think that the scene starts, and they show, like, one of the workers, she orders, like, a Caesar salad with no croutons or something, and someone else orders something very reasonable. He's like, hey, I'll you know what, he just kind of wanted to, like, one-up him, so he's like, I'll get a salad with no dressing. And then he's like, and how about some cookies, some milk, chocolate chip pie, and he just keeps naming things. He gets really fat-shamed in this scene right here by his coworkers.
The guy starts the presentation for the new toy, and it's, like, some kind of, like, tank or something, and Scott's like, no. One, there should be elves there with little speckles of glitter on their cheek. And, you know, Santa wouldn't condone this kind of violence. And like, well, it's a violent toy, Scott. You can tell this guy is really pissed off that Scott had the top-selling toy last year.
Oh, yeah, he was bitter. He's just... He needed to come in heavy, and he's like, you know what, what's really big? G.I. Joe is really big at the moment. Let's try to mimic this. I think we're, like, past G.I. Joe at this point, but we're like Power Rangers, I think.
We're not even at Power Rangers yet.
You know what? I'm guessing the previous year it was the girl toy, or the current year it was the girl toy was the big thing, and that was the big market. And this guy, bitter AF at Scott, was like, all right, I'm coming in heavy with a boy toy. Coming in hot and heavy. I want, like, a giant-sized tank. Were they supposed to ride around in it? I didn't really know what the...
No, I could not tell. And I think that was part of, like, what Scott was, like, trying to tell the dudes. Like, what is this? Like, this makes no sense.
I'm assuming it was, like, a Power Wheel thing. Like, a kid could sit in it and, like, ride around, like, the house in a tank. Like, a slow-moving tank.
That thing's going fast, man. You ever get hit by one of those?
Not recently, but I can't remember if it hurts or not. But I can just picture the like the barrel of the gun of the tank just like going through a wall for some reason, just like going through a drywall. And the mom's pissed off, and you know everyone's calling up and complaining to the toy company like, you gotta fix my wall. I'm sending you the bill.
Scott gets pulled out of the meeting by the CEO, owner of the company, played by Peter Boyle, and he's like, dude, you gotta get your stuff together. Like, I don't know what you gotta do. If you gotta, like, go to a doctor, a nutritionist, what, you gotta get yourself together, because whatever's going on is not okay.
I didn't, like, really get why he was let go, to be honest with you. Like, he had valid points.
It's not even that he was let go, it's like he was put on leave.
I'm just like, why? Because he's heavier and...
The drastic weight gain, they're like, whatever is going on, you need to go deal with this.
I'm guessing this is, like, way before, like... the HR world took off. This would have been like an open shut case right here, where he would have just been awarded a large sum of money for being discriminated against, like right here.
I don't think they fire him. They're putting him on leave.
I think they just wanted to get the workplace out of the storyline, so they didn't have to explain why why he's going to be Santa for the next year. And it worked, but just the way they did it was kind of awkward from a business place perspective.
It was, but I'm just saying, like, there's no point where they say he's fired. It's just that you need to go medically take care of everything. And the thing is, he goes to the doctor, and, the only weird things, really, his heartbeat basically plays like jingle bells, and so does his pulse.
Yeah. I like the doctor's like, maybe I should send you to a cardiologist, just to get this double checked. That's a little awkward.
Well, like, the doctor, like, has him doing, like, all the tests. Everything seems, like, fine. All his levels are right. Nothing's, like, too weird, but, like, it's just that, like, his heartbeat is, like, jingle bells. And, like, his pulse is doing the same thing, and it's like, wait, what? Because you see the doctor, like, taking his pulse, and he's like, his eye is just, like, he's so confused by what he's, like, feeling. He's like, what the hell? He's like, you're fine. I mean, okay, if you're eating a lot of sweets, stop eating all the sweets.
I feel like that doctor went home and he's, like, going through medical journal after medical journal, like, trying to, like...
tried to, like, find an explanation, and never, like, he spends, like, months trying to, like, researching and just never finds anything to account for this.
Yeah, there's just this endless journey of him. He's like, I must have missed this day of class. I don't remember them ever talking about this. And he's like contacting all his peers, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard this? And they're like, no, like, that's very alarming that the heart's beating To the tune of Jingle Bells.
Like, of all the like, what? And well, the thing is, like, he's getting fatter, and his hair is growing faster, and it's turning white, and like nobody would believe this.
Like, I'm surprised, like, they didn't, like, send him off to some kind of specialist just to, like, really see what's going on. Like, you know, maybe there's a guy somewhere that might know what's going on. Maybe this is something new. Like, have you been exposed to anything recently? Any weird new chemical compound? Have you put anything new in your toys? Like, there's some new kind of plastic?
Nothing.
Like,
Nothing.
what?
There's no...
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I went to the doctor and like, hey, in the last couple of weeks, I gained like 100 pounds. Help me, please. Help me figure out what's going on. But he's like not that concerned about it. Scott's just like, you know what? I'll just try to take it easy. Just take it easy on the sweets. But he can't resist sweets, right? Is it something that... It's
like if you give him a plate of salad, like a really nice, like Greek chicken salad or a Caesar salad or like a McCarthy salad or something, like he will like, mentally he knows he needs the salad, but like he's just going to be eating it. He's not even like thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like an addiction. It's a weird magical addiction that he has to sweets. You know, I bet you, like, regular food tastes disgusting now to him. I bet you, like, if he ate, like, a turkey, it wouldn't be that good, but...
Well, I think the thing is he ate, like, in the meeting, he ate the salad, but he ate all the other stuff, too.
He's, like, into milk, like, because he hated milk before, and, like, now he can't get enough of it, and he just wants to drink it all day long, all day, all night. Make himself some eggnog, a milk punch, as you refer to it as.
That's what Google said it was. Golly.
Oh, you didn't come up with that originally?
Like, okay, if my boyfriend were to come in and be like, hey, Kat, let's add some eggnog to the Walmart list, I'd be like, yeah, I'm adding a teeny tiny one, because you're the only one who's going to be drinking it.
I've never been anywhere on Christmas Eve or Christmas party that had eggnog. I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't think it's on the menu everywhere.
The only places I know where eggnog in the year 2020 seems to be popular is in a freaking, like, latte.
Oh, yeah. Like at, like, Dunkin' Donut or something.
Yeah, like, I can go to Dutch Brothers and I can get, like, any of the drinks made with an eggnog base. The first time I ever, like, even saw, like, a carton of eggnog, I've never seen, like, homemade eggnog, was, like, I want to say I was maybe 13, 14, somewhere around there. We were at my Uncle Bob and Aunt Jane's, and, like, they had, like, a carton, because they were having everybody over for, like, some kind of Christmas thing. And my Uncle Scott's girlfriend at the time, now his wife, went to make a White Russian, and instead of taking out the milk, she took out the eggnog and used the eggnog instead on accident.
Oh, did she freak out? She'd lose her mind.
What is this? And then she's like, I realized I used the eggnog. And I'm just like, okay. And, like, the only person I know who drinks eggnog is my stepmom.
All year round, or is this...
Once it becomes available, like, in October or something, she'll, like, get one. She'll get, like, the carton, and she'll, like, have a little bit every so often. Only person I personally know who, like, actually drinks eggnog.
All right. Speaking of becoming Santa Claus, Charlie the boy, he, like, won't stop talking about this to anybody. He will tell anybody and everybody.
Dude, if your dad turned out to be Santa Claus, wouldn't you be talking about it, like, all the time?
I mean, probably. However, it kind of puts Scott in, like, a shitty predicament, though. It kind of, like, ruins his life.
Well, because here's the thing. Scott is going through, like, all these changes. He's trying to, like, come to terms with it. And Charlie's just like, well, Dad, you're Santa. Like, Charlie gets it. Charlie's like, this is who you are. It's cool. It's awesome. I want to hang out with you all the time now. Neil and Laura think that Scott is manipulating Charlie.
Yeah, because they're like, something happened over Christmas Eve.
The way that Laura and Neil react makes me personally feel like they are kind of pissed off because they think Scott has beaten them at their own game.
Oh, okay.
Because they have definitely been manipulating Charlie, alienating Charlie against Scott.
I think it's more Neil using Laura as a weapon, and Laura just kind of fell victim to it without realizing it. I feel like it's that sort of game. Up until this point, up until Christmas Eve of this year, Charlie, he hated Scott. He hated going over there. He didn't want to go over there. And then something happened. Something happened over Christmas Eve, and Charlie's like a new kid now. He, like, turns his room into the North Pole. He puts, like, antlers on desks. He's all Christmased out. He won't stop talking about Christmas. It's like, it's some months later, I guess.
Spring hits, and, you know, Scott's at the point where he has probably been in the gym for 3 hours a day running on a treadmill or something.
And his weight's still going up.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's not working.
He's tried to dye his hair, and the dye won't take.
And so Neil, being the psychiatrist and all, he's like, something's going on here. This ain't healthy. I'm really worried about this, Laura. We need, I think we need to get the courts involved because your ex-husband.
Here's what really happens is that they go to one of Charlie's soccer games. Like, this is the last straw.
Oh yeah, this is a creepy scene, by the way.
Scott's doing nothing to gather the kid, but Laura and Neil refuse to hear this. Like, he's just sitting there watching the game, and these kids start lining up to tell him what they want for Christmas. And he's like, he just cannot be mean to them and be like, okay, fuck off. Because he's freaking Santa Claus.
I was thinking about this. Have you ever, do you remember being a child and you saw somebody who looked like Santa Claus?
I feel like not really during the year. Like, not until around Christmas time do you start seeing people who look like Santa.
Did you ever feel compelled to walk up to them and be like, I want an Easy Bake Oven and a Malibu Barbie, just random things? You would just kind of laugh to yourself and be like, oh my god, that guy looks like Santa Claus.
Like, Mom, that guy looks like yeah, no.
Or maybe you'd make a joke and tell your younger brother that, hey, that's Santa Claus off duty right now. But you wouldn't walk up to him and form a line around him on a park bench, like Forrest Gump style. I'm guessing maybe because he is Santa Claus now, there's some kind of magical aura that only the kids can see. You think that may be it?
Maybe. There's some the kids know. The kids just no, they get it. It's like when they went to the zoo and Scott was trying to dial back on this stuff with Charlie and the reindeer followed them.
Have we gotten to the point though where now Scott's hey, to Charlie, we need to keep this Santa thing a secret?
He's tried. They had that conversation at the zoo.
Well, this is a huge trigger. This is a huge trigger to Neil and Laura, so they, now they need to get the courts involved.
It's fall. So it's not Christmas time, but they got everything figured out, and they got their lawyers involved. They got a court date. There was probably some meetings and stuff. And the judge is yes, Sue. After talking with Charlie, she's like, oh yeah, no.
No, I think he says something hey, just for the time being, we're going to forbid you from seeing Charlie. We're going to resume the court date at the beginning of the year. We got a lot of cases right now. So for right now, you just got to dial it back. We kind of get this sad scene where Charlie and Scott are upset and Laura and Neil are just kind of small victory. Yes, we got to win here. We got to win here.
And then Neil can adopt Charlie.
I guess it's getting close now to Thanksgiving. So Scott has to report to the North Pole.
Scott just kind of wandering around, and he ends up at Laura's house. And he's outside. And Charlie's just this depressed mess again.
This part kind of bothered me because I think right away dishonors the arrangement they have with the court. So he just shows up at the house. I guess Laura's all right, come in, we're here. It's not going to be that big of a deal, I guess. Scott's hey, can I talk to Charlie for a minute? And she's okay. And she leaves the room. She leaves the room. Okay,
to be fair though, at this point, Scott has no intention of taking Charlie with him.
That is true.
You know who does? You know who shows up and says, hey,
Bernard.
Charlie, come. Bernard.
Yeah, I don't know the stipulation of this legal arrangement, but I feel Scott's not allowed to show up at the house. I just feel that was the police should have been involved right away.
Well, you know what? Neil is probably in the other room on the phone with the lawyer.
Oh, yeah. He's he runs in, goes to his office, picks up the phone. He's hey, Scott's here. What do I do?
Scott's Charlie, he's still, there's part of Scott that keeps going, I'm not Santa. And then Bernard shows back up, and he's hey guys, got time to go to the North Pole. So you're supposed to have all your stuff ready to go today, so let's go.
Yeah, this part's confusing, because is it Thanksgiving? Is it Christmas? It just
Thanksgiving. Why do you think it's not Christmas, it's Thanksgiving?
Do we get a time jump? What?
Okay, because they get the whole, they call the police, and Charlie is a missing child at this point. Charlie might call home once in a while. He's hey Mom, it's all good. I'm just helping the elves up here at the North Pole. But he he hangs up before the chase can be done. So
Charlie was at the North Pole from Thanksgiving to Christmas Eve?
Yes.
It's been a month? Wow, I didn't, because they make it seem it's the same night.
No, there's a whole montage of Charlie and the elves and Scott and the elves, wow. And they're making upgrades to the sleigh, because Charlie's been plotting this for a year. And Scott's main concern is how do I not fall off the roof? They've, like, come up with all these other, like, safety measures, like, from fires and dogs, but nothing about, like, not falling off the roof.
I don't know. I just think it's batshit insane that, I mean, it wasn't Scott's fault, but, like, Scott shows up at Laura and Neil's house and, like, takes Charlie, and Charlie's gone for a month. Like, he's gone for a month. Like, he immediately breaks the rule, like, right off the bat. Kidnaps the child, takes him to the north, takes him out of the country. I mean, he does insist that Charlie doesn't come, but Bernard's like, yeah, sure, what's the worst that could happen?
Bernard's like, what's gonna happen? Like, Bernard, like, if you go back to your whole, like, Bernard's behind everything, Bernard knows it's gonna turn out okay in the end.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's, like, a manhunt, like, looking for these two. Like, I could see, like, John Walsh on, like, America's Most Wanted special presentation, like, a week after this happened on Fox, Friday night, looking for this little boy. There's, like, a picture of Santa Claus on the Fox show. And then, like, this is that time of year, though, like, where people are actually dressed up like Santa Claus. So you have, like, the police just, like, arresting every Santa Claus in town. Like,
every poor mall Santa.
There's, like, SWAT teams involved. There's, like, like special tactics forces, like, hold up at the house. There's always, like, armed guy. It's crazy when you think about this, and that this has been going on for a month.
Okay, so it's, like, going on. Charlie calls once a while, but, like, just long enough to be like, I'm alive, I'm cool, I'm just helping the elves, and we're gonna be, like, good to go, you know?
Do you think they could actually, like, trace the call to the North Pole, though? Like, do you think it's possible?
Pretty sure, like, eventually, like, if they listen back to the recording, all it is probably like, ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho.
Oh, it, like, erases the recording?
Like, it's just like the Christmas magic, where it's not Charlie, it's just like, ho ho ho.
That's why. Like, they have those, like, old-timey, like, tape reels that they, like, used to record calls in, like, any, like, Sting movie, and they're in the, like, the crime lab listening back to the tape.
All you need to record a call now is, like, an app on your phone.
I could actually see the, like, maybe Charlie was on the phone long enough when it showed, like, the pinpoint of, like, where they were on the map or whatever they use. Like, it's just, like, everywhere. It's in, like, a different spot every time, and it's confusing them.
They're like, we don't know. We don't understand. Like, what is happening?
Because I feel like it's not a normal phone that is in the North Pole. It's just some kind of, like, satellite phone. All right, so Charlie's there for a month. He's got all these crazy ideas. He's been working on all kinds of things, as you said, like how to stop dogs, how to stop fire from burning you in the fireplaces. I don't know, like cleats so you don't slide off the roof. You know, they don't want to repeat of last year. They finally just got a new Santa. They're worried about doing it again. I guess it's like a tough ordeal when you get a new Santa. I'm assuming like the transition is rough.
They don't want to do this again. Like, why would they?
I don't know. There's probably like a whole like education department that has to like train Santa.
Like, it's just not worth it. Like,
cut to Christmas Eve. Like,
now it's Christmas Eve. We've had our montage of everything, which I don't know how you missed. I swear to God, man.
No, I was paying attention. I just thought it was strange that the child was kidnapped for a month. It just like really concerned me, and I was like, whoa.
Oh my, that's why the SWAT team is there on Christmas Eve when he like shows up and he's like trying to drop Charlie back off at home. I do think he has probably tried to like explain to Charlie, you need to be with Mom and Neil. You need to be with Mom and Neil. Stop listening to Bernard.
Yeah, Bernard's kind of like intoxicated. He just kind of, there's this power to him that just captivates young people, I guess. Maybe Scott can see through it because he's an old middle-aged man who's 38.
Oh, God.
I think they say a line, they call him middle-aged, and then they establish that he's 38, and I was like, whoa, stop the press.
Wow.
All right, so it's now Christmas Eve. The SWAT team's hauled up at the Neil Laura estate. Santa is now flying all over the world using his hot new technology. They deliver all the presents. They're in the space-time continuum, as Charlie explains how they're able to do this all in one night. I guess Charlie made some special gifts for his parents, so to say.
He made special gifts for Neil and Laura. He wants to leave them under the tree, but he wants to keep going with Scott. Scott's like, dude, I'm in like a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I can't go there.
Then the SWAT team like bursts in and arrests Scott.
It's wild. It's like a SEAL 6 team just comes busting through the doors. They have the assault rifles, all the tactical gear for this one guy who I'm guessing like the media probably hyped up as like being armed and dangerous. That's like my only guess. That's the only thing I can fathom in this. I guess because they always knew he'd come back, right?
Okay, so at the very least, I'm guessing the theory is this dude thinks he's Santa. He's got the kid. he's probably going to show up on Christmas Eve to try and deliver presents.
So they're like staked out at the house.
Because, they got to bust Santa. Like, can you imagine how traumatizing this might have been for, like, children in the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. Like, I could see the local news, like, doing a story about the crazy Santa guy. And it's probably, like, it'd be like the 5, 6 o'clock news right after whatever was being syndicated at that time, Saved by the Bell. Like, coming up next, now that we're inching closer to Christmas, is the crazy Santa guy still out there on the streets? Is he going to go into, and it's probably like the rich neighborhood, and all the rich kids are like, oh no, like, we don't want Santa to come this year now. Like, I'm surprised the town didn't ban, like, Christmas altogether because of this.
I mean, it was only 1994. Why would they ban Christmas in 1994? It's not like it's the year 2020.
Well, I guess they did this. We don't really see it, but I'm surprised they didn't have, like, barricades, like, in the streets, like, around the house, but they could have. We just didn't see it.
Yeah, I think they had something. He gets dragged down to the police station and they're questioning him. They're like, what's your name? He's like, Santa Claus. They're like, what's your name? Santa Claus. Like, he gives all these names that mean Santa. And they're like, dude, what is your name? Like, they're interrogating him. It's not working. They put him in a cell. And then the, like, team, which is like the elves version of SEAL Team 6 or whatever.
E.L.F.S. It's like elite little flying something. I couldn't remember what it stood for.
Yeah, it's wild though.
They have like jetpacks and they like fly from the North Pole to this small town.
Yes, and their tinsel is gonna like cut open a jail cell.
Yeah, it's kind of like is it like in a can, like a spray can of some sort?
I don't remember.
It cuts the hinges on the door though, and they like take down the cell.
Tinsel is apparently like really dangerous. Like if you ingest it, it will like saw through your organs as it makes its way out.
Yeah, so maybe it's able to saw through steel bars inside the small town police station, which I want to like comment on the jail cell scene. So in the cell right next to Santa Claus, right next to Scott, there's like another guy. And I want to know what he did. Like, I'm like, why is he there? Because then he's like, hey, can you kids rescue me too? And they just like keep on going. And I'm like, what did he do? Is he one of the Santa mix-up guys? Like, did they think he was Scott? Like, who knows?
I mean, I think he probably took money out of a Salvation Army kettle.
Wrapped tape around his fingers, like Sticky Bandit style, and stole like a whopping like 86 cents.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. Like, he was in like, almost looked like office attire, so I feel like maybe he's a white-collar criminal in this town. Who knows?
Maybe.
It's the Enron scandal of its time. I don't know. I wanted to know, though. I wanted to know more. I wanted like a deleted scene. Anyway, so they rescue Santa. Do they go back to the house?
They do, because he's gonna, like, say goodbye to Charlie, because he's got to get his sleigh. His sleigh's at the house.
Yeah, because he didn't finish his job, right? He's still gonna be, like, Santa.
He's still got, like, hours upon hours deliveries to do. And Charlie's like, I want to go with you. He's like, no, you need to stay with Mom and Neil. And then Bernard shows up again. Like, all kind of creepy, like.
We forgot about the part, though, where the kids come to rescue Charlie because he's, like, still on the roof. Wait for his dad to come back up.
So Charlie is with the elf team when they go and rescue Scott.
I just think it's wild just picturing this kid just sitting on a roof for like, I don't know, however long it took the elves to get from North Pole to this small town. Like just sitting there just like wondering, because does he even see Scott being taken away by the police? Because I feel like he like missed it for some reason. I don't know why.
I think he missed it. I think he was, because he was like I think he ran out of the room to go do something, to like go put something somewhere special or something. And that's when the team came in. They
came in and took his dad, and like he like waited on the roof, and he's like, where is he? Like he kind of had like a look of sadness on his face, like maybe his dad abandoned him again. He's like, shit. It's quickly resolved though when the elves show up and they fly off to rescue his dad from jail for kidnapping. There's a commotion like in the neighborhoods. Like everyone comes out of their houses.
Well, yeah, because some dude dressed as Santa just got arrested, man, by like a SWAT
team. They have that little like police tape barricades up all around the perimeter. All the kids are out there. The little girl from the year before is out after she had just witnessed Santa again.
At this point, like now that he's back, Laura and Neil kind of have to admit the dude is Santa Claus.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We kind of brushed over this because there's like maybe it's like in the lawyer scene, like earlier on, Laura and Neil start talking about the moment they stop believing in Santa. And for Laura, it was when she didn't get the mystery date board game.
Yeah.
And for Neil, it was she didn't get, what was it, the Oscar Mayer weenie whistle?
Yes, which you did not realize was like actually a thing.
Which blew my mind. And
Neil was like 3 years old or something ridiculous.
One of the catalysts for Neil and Laura becoming believers is, I guess they finally witness Scott like in his Santa costume, and I guess the magic of seeing him in his costume is enough to convince them that it's real.
Yeah, like they see Scott as Santa. They see him dressed as Santa in the sleigh with the reindeer. Like they are seeing it with their own two eyes. Like there is nothing at this point that can really like make them deny that Santa and Scott are the same person. Bernard shows up and he's like, Charlie, anytime you want to see your dad, all you gotta do is shake the snow globe I gave. The thing is, Charlie's been carrying the snow globe around with him like all year.
The whole movie.
Yeah, and like he pretty much always has it when he is seeing Scott.
That is true. I didn't pick up on that.
So he like never has had to like shake, like when he shakes it, usually when he shakes it up, he's with Scott already.
Yeah, it's some kind of weird like bat signal that lures Scott to him. All right, so Scott has to leave. He has to go back to the North Pole. Meanwhile, the whole town's watching, by the way. Like, the whole town's watching this. And they witness, like, Scott and Charlie's goodbye. You know, they learn about the little snow globe incident. And Scott takes off. He, like, flies over the house a few times, like, waves goodbye to everybody. Everyone's just...
Charlie gets a soccer ball.
Yeah, little gift drop.
Laura gets the mystery date game, and Neil gets the weedy whistle. And, like, Neil's eyes, like, they lit up so freaking much. Like, this moment right here changed Laura and Neil's world forever.
Okay, I get the weenie whistle. Like, you know what? It's probably exciting. It's now a collector's item. But what is Laura gonna do with the mystery date game? Is she gonna like play it with her friends? Like, what's?
Like, she might play it with like Neil and Charlie one night.
So I just have like a hot mystery date game night. I don't know. I can just picture her. It's like a few days after Christmas. You know what? They're gonna like have a big New Year's party, and she like calls up all the neighborhood girls, and she's like, "Hey, you guys want to come over tonight? Have some holiday cocktails and play mystery date."
Yeah, let's play some mystery date.
I just love that. Wish you got a scene of Laura playing mystery date with her girlfriends, and like, oh, I got to go out with the jock.
Like, or at the very least, Laura sitting around with Charlie and Neil and Scott playing mystery date.
Or like, you know, like you get like bloopers sometimes, but they like incorporate elements from the film. Like we'd get the cast playing mystery date. I don't know. I just thought it was wild that they just went with that like as the gift. Like it changed her life.
I feel like they were trying to find an iconic item.
She got all this other great stuff, but she didn't get mystery date.
Yeah, and poor Neil just wanted an Oscar by or weedy whistle. But like we already established, we think Neil's parents are kind of like stuffy. I feel like Neil was probably raised by the nanny, like only brought out like
when needed. All right. I was just reading something on Reddit really quick. So Peter Boyle is actually in this movie and then plays another character in the second and third one. He plays Father Time. And there's a theory that Father Time actually like works at the toy company and he was like scouting potential Santa Clauses.
Okay, I can see that.
That's one of the theories. And then another theory was kind of goes along with Evil Bernard. The previous Santa planned on not being Santa anymore. He found like the escape clause, which was that you have to fall off the roof and die, I guess. And so like he purposely went to this house.
Okay.
So that was why he was waving goodbye, because he was like, "So long, sucker."
This way I don't have to find a wife.
Yeah. And then where is Mrs. Claus? Like the old Mrs. Claus.
Okay, that's why I don't think this guy, the last Santa, was married, or the last few Santas, because, you know, they never talk about Mrs. Claus until we get to Santa Claus 2, where they find out it's a clause that Bernard is not aware of. So it has to be something that hasn't been invoked in a while, or all these dudes were already married and maybe like vanishes too. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna ask the age-old question. On a scale out of 1 out of 5 Oscar Mayer weenie whistles, how many are you gonna give to 1994's The Santa Claus? I'm dying to know your score. I feel like you're going to give this a high score just because you selected the movie. So I feel like this is a tradition for you. You've seen this like at least 100 times at the very minimum.
I mean, I will watch this probably 2 or 3 more times this year.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, okay, so to be fair though, the day we are recording this is November 17th.
That is true.
I'm not even like really in Christmas yet. I have Thanksgiving decor up. I might not even get to have a Thanksgiving this year.
I had only seen this movie once before. I want to say, all right, so this movie came out, when we were in 7th grade? That's when it was released in theaters. All right. And it must have come out on video like the following Christmas, I'm guessing.
It probably came out when we were in 8th grade. I remember like begging my mom to get the video.
We watched this in school like a week before Christmas when it's just that like horrible like time where, well, not horrible, it's a great time where you're like, you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I think we had a couple of snow days leading up to it, and like we had to go back for like 2 days before Christmas, and they were like, we're just going to watch movies. And I think this movie had like just come out on video, and they just made us watch it. And I remember being like, I don't know, what am I? Probably like 14 years old. And just being like, oh, this movie's fucking stupid. Like, I can't sit through this. Never saw it again. I know the sequels came out. I kind of saw the end of like part 3 last week by accident because it was on like some network channel. I knew we were going to be watching this for the podcast, and I was like, ugh, like, I don't know if I could sit through this. So I'm going to give this movie, I'm going to give it a 2.
You're going to give this a 2?
Yeah, this is not a good movie. This is not a good movie, by the way. Like, if you actually sit down, like, this is an evil world. Sometimes, like, I root for Neil. Like, I see him as a villain, but other times I'm like, you know what, he's right. Like, he's right. There's obviously some mischief going on with the elves. The elves are kind of suspect to me. Suspect. Kind of problematic, in a way, but it's not horrible. It's not too bad. Like, I don't know if the sequels will, like, expand the world, maybe answer some of my questions that I have. You keep alluding to them, like, you have to see the sequels then, it explains everything. So I'm like, okay, like, maybe I'll check it out, but I'm definitely never gonna watch this movie again.
You watch the sequels, I'm gonna get the wildest DM.
Like, maybe we'll do it next year, who knows? Maybe we'll squeeze in at least part 2. I don't know, there's a lot to unpack in this movie, and it's definitely a 90s movie. It has a 90s vibe. The writers definitely didn't think twice about, like, throwing in, like, a kidnapping plot. The kidnapping plot, like, doesn't get resolved. Like, what did the law think of this?
I think Laura and Neil dropped the charges.
Like, they went to the courthouse, like, the Monday, the first day it was open, and we're like, all right, we're going to throw everything out. But, like, I could just see, like, a lot of time and money from the, like, SWAT team police perspective, like, went into this. And, like, what did they do after this? Did they just, like, pretended this never happened? Did they like send the bill to Neil and Laura? Like, what? We literally like camped out at your house for a month, traced calls, we did all this stuff. Like, these people got paid a lot of money. Like, they were away from their families. These like police guys are away from their families for a month looking for your husband and your son, and then you threw the case out. I could see like a cranky like police commissioner being like, no, here's the bill, and it's like $300,000 or something, and like Neil has to pay it.
Bernard's got this covered.
Yeah, okay, you know what, maybe like he kind of infiltrated the law system, like the legal system there too, and kind of got it overturned using Christmas magic. I just couldn't sleep thinking about it. I'm like, those poor police officers had to be like pulled away for a month from their families.
Okay, Patrick, what are the Christmas movies you sit down and rewatch over and over again?
I mean, I really don't watch Christmas movies. I kind of just watch like Christmas specials. I'm gonna throw this out there. I don't really like rewatch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
So actually, I could watch Bad Moms Christmas again. You know what? That might be. That's a top 5. That's a top 5 Christmas movie to me. Bad Moms Christmas.
Okay.
All right. Officially, that puts the bow on Christmas this year, right? We're putting the tree away.
As of right now, that is the end of the Holly Jolly Jamboree.
Yes, Holly Jolly Jamboree 2020 closing, unless there's a surprise. Who knows? Who knows? But in our recording world, this is the end. This is the end, my friend.
But what comes in January?
Cat Hall Said the Author told us more than a year ago that theme months are dead. We'll never have another theme month on this podcast as long as I live. But guess what? Next month, for a whole month, we are dipping into the wild world of Jason Bateman's filmography for Jason Bateman January. And we're going to kick things off with what collectively we decided is his biggest role.
The thing we first knew him from.
Yes. Where I became first introduced to Jason Bateman and where Kat became first introduced to Jason Bateman is a little sitcom that was originally called Valerie, starring Valerie Harper and her family. During its second season, the producers had an issue with her, fired her from the show. They changed the name of the show to Valerie's Family. They hired Sandy Duncan, and in syndication, the show was renamed The Hogan Family. And so next week, we're going to do the first episode featuring Sandy Duncan, right? That's the one we decided on? And that's going to kick off a month of Jason Bateman fun. So we got all kinds of like tricks and treats for you. Like, you will lose your mind when you hear what we have unearthed.
All stemmed from just watching George and Leo.
All right. Where can you follow our fun adventures? Cat Hall Said the Author. Where can you follow us?
You can follow us on Twitter at Very Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at A Very Special Podcast. You can find us on pretty much any app that plays podcasts. You can support us on Patreon. You found us somehow, so subscribe. Thank you.
And as always, girl, as always...
Bye!
Ho, 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 ho. I had to do a grunt. I had to end on a grunt.